They laughed when Johnny married Ashley, a poor black woman chasing impossible dreams, certain he was throwing his future away. But years later, those same people watched in envy as their lives unfolded into something extraordinary. What happened to turn their love story into the fairy tale everyone now desires? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. And if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. Johnny wiped his hands on his apron, a satisfied smile crossing his face as he surveyed his bustling restaurant. The smell of sizzling burgers and fresh-cut fries filled the air, mingling with the cheerful chatter of his customers. This place was his pride and joy, built from the ground up with hard work and determination. "Order up, Johnny," called out Marge, his longtime waitress, as she hurried past with a tray full of steaming plates. Johnny nodded, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Coming right up, Marge." As he turned to grab the order, the bell above the door chimed. Johnny looked up, his gaze landing on a young woman he'd never seen before. She was tall and slender, with smooth, dark skin, and eyes that seemed to sparkle even from across the room. But it wasn't just her beauty that caught his attention. There was something about the way she carried herself, a mix of grace and determination that made her stand out. The woman glanced around nervously, clutching her purse close to her side. Johnny couldn't help but notice the worn edges of her coat and the scuffed heels she wore. Despite her obvious nerves, she held her head high as she made her way to the counter. "Welcome to Johnny's Diner," he said warmly. "What can I get for you today?" The woman's eyes met his, and Johnny felt his heart skip a beat. "Just a coffee, please," she said softly. "Black." As Johnny poured her coffee, he couldn't help but strike up a conversation. "New in town?" he asked. She nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Just got here yesterday. I'm Ashley. I'm hoping to find work as a model." Johnny raised his eyebrows, impressed. "A model? That's quite a dream." Ashley's smile grew, lighting up her whole face. "It is, but I'm determined to make it happen, no matter what it takes." There was something about her spirit, her unwavering belief in herself despite the odds, that touched Johnny deeply. He found himself wanting to know more about this intriguing woman and her big dreams. Over the next few weeks, Johnny found himself drawn more and more to Ashley. He'd invite her to the diner after closing time, serving up simple but delicious meals as they talked late into the night. Ashley's eyes would light up as she shared her dreams, and Johnny couldn't help but be captivated by her passion. "I've wanted to be a model since I was a little girl," Ashley confided one evening, her fingers wrapped around a steaming mug of cocoa. "Growing up, I never saw anyone who looked like me in magazines or on TV. I want to change that." Johnny nodded, his heart swelling with admiration. "That's amazing, Ashley. You're going to make a difference. I just know it." As they spent more time together, Johnny learned about Ashley's struggles. She'd grown up in a poor neighborhood, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. Despite the hardships, Ashley had never given up on her dreams. "It's been tough," she admitted, her voice soft. "I've been to so many auditions, but no one seems to want to give me a chance." Johnny reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "Don't give up, Ashley. Your time will come." But as much as Johnny's heart yearned for Ashley, he could sense her hesitation. One evening, as they walked along the quiet streets of their small town, Ashley sighed heavily. "Johnny, you're so kind to me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't help feeling like I don't belong in your world. You've got this amazing restaurant. Everyone in town respects you. And me? I'm just chasing a dream that might never come true." Johnny stopped, turning to face her. "Ashley, listen to me. Your dream is what makes you special. It's what drew me to you in the first place. Don't ever think you're not good enough." Ashley's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "But what if I fail? What if I'm just wasting my time?" Johnny's heart ached at the doubt in her voice. He wanted nothing more than to chase away her fears, to make her see herself the way he saw her, strong, beautiful, and full of potential. As Johnny and Ashley's relationship blossomed, the small town's rumor mill began to churn. Whispers and sideways glances followed the couple wherever they went. At first, Johnny tried to ignore it, focusing instead on the warmth of Ashley's smile and the light in her eyes when she talked about her dreams. But soon the gossip became impossible to ignore. One afternoon, as Johnny was closing up the diner, his longtime friend Mike leaned against the counter, a concerned look on his face. "Johnny, what are you doing with that Ashley girl?" Mike asked, his voice low. "You know she's never going to make it as a model, right?" Johnny felt his jaw clench. "What do you mean by that?" Mike shrugged, looking uncomfortable. "Come on, man, well, you know, black girls don't become models. It's just not realistic." Johnny's hands balled into fists at his sides. He took a deep breath, trying to keep his anger in check. "That's not true, Mike. And even if it was, it wouldn't matter. Ashley's got talent and determination." But Mike wasn't the only one. At the weekly family dinner, Johnny's mother pulled him aside, her bro for a wed with worry. "Honey, I'm just concerned," she said, patting his arm. "This modeling thing, it's not a real job. What kind of future can you have with someone who's chasing such an unrealistic dream?" Johnny felt a pang in his heart. He'd always valued his mother's opinion, but this time he knew she was wrong. "Mom, Ashley's dream is part of who she is. It's one of the things I love most about her." As the days went by, Johnny found himself constantly defending Ashley and her aspirations. It seemed like everyone in town had an opinion, and most of them weren't kind. They'd whisper behind their hands, saying things like, "She's not even that pretty," or "Who does she think she is?" Each comment felt like a knife in Johnny's heart. He knew how hard Ashley worked, how much she believed in herself despite the constant rejection. He wished the town could see what he saw, a beautiful, determined woman with a heart of gold and a spirit that refused to be broken. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the town, Johnny and Ashley sat on a park bench. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers, but Johnny could sense the heaviness in Ashley's heart. "What's on your mind?" he asked gently, taking her hand in his. Ashley sighed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's just, sometimes I wonder if I'm chasing an impossible dream," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Johnny squeezed her hand, encouraging her to continue. Ashley took a deep breath and began to share her story. "I've wanted to be a model since I was a little girl," she said, a small smile playing on her lips. "But every agency I've gone to has turned me away. They say I'm not the right look, or that there's no market for black models in this area." As Ashley spoke, Johnny felt a mix of admiration and sadness wash over him. He had no idea how much rejection she'd faced, yet she still held onto her dream with both hands. "It's been so hard, Johnny," Ashley continued, her voice cracking. "There are days when I want to give up, when I think maybe everyone else is right. Maybe I'm not pretty enough, or talented enough." Johnny's heart ached for her. He pulled her close, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Ashley, you're the most beautiful person I know, inside and out. And your determination, it's inspiring." Ashley leaned into him, drawing strength from his words and his presence. "Sometimes it feels like I'm fighting this battle all alone," she admitted. "You're not alone anymore," Johnny said firmly. "I believe in you, Ashley, and I'll be here, cheering you on every step of the way." As they sat there, the sky darkening around them, Johnny realized just how much Ashley had been dealing with. The constant rejection, the doubt, the struggle to keep her dream alive in the face of overwhelming odds. His admiration for her grew even stronger. In that moment, Johnny made a silent promise to himself and to Ashley. He would be her rock, her biggest supporter, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The bond between them deepened, forged in the fire of shared dreams and unwavering support. As the weeks turned into months, Johnny and Ashley's love blossomed like a beautiful flower in spring. They spent every spare moment together, sharing dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. Johnny's heart swelled with pride every time he saw Ashley's determination to pursue her modeling career, despite the constant setbacks. One balmy evening, as they strolled hand in hand through the town's small park, Johnny knew it was time. He'd been carrying the ring in his pocket for days, waiting for the perfect moment. As they reached the old oak tree where they'd shared their first kiss, Johnny stopped and turned to face Ashley. "Ashley," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "you've brought so much joy into my life. I can't imagine spending a single day without you." Ashley's eyes widened as Johnny dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. "Will you marry me?" he asked, his heart pounding. Tears sprang to Ashley's eyes as she nodded enthusiastically. "Yes! Oh, Johnny, yes!" she cried, throwing her arms around him. The news of their engagement spread through the small town like wildfire. While some congratulated the happy couple, others weren't as supportive. Johnny's family was shocked, their disapproval evident in their tight smiles and stilted congratulations. "Son, are you sure about this?" Johnny's father asked one evening, his brow furrowed with concern. She's not exactly from our world. And that modeling dream of hers, it's just not practical." Johnny felt a surge of protectiveness. "Dad, I love Ashley. She's kind, hardworking, and has a heart of gold. Her dreams are part of what makes her special." His mother chimed in, her voice laced with worry. "But Johnny, think about your future. What will people say? A respectable restaurant owner marrying a what, Mom?" Johnny challenged, his voice firm. "A black woman? A woman who dares to dream big? That's exactly why I love her." Despite the pushback from family and friends, Johnny and Ashley remained undeterred. Their love was a fortress, strong enough to withstand the storm of disapproval swirling around them. They spent their evenings planning their future, dreaming of a life filled with love, support, and shared ambitions. The day of Johnny and Ashley's wedding arrived, bringing with it a mix of joy and heartache. The small chapel, usually bustling with excitement on such occasions, felt oddly quiet. Only a handful of guests occupied the pews, their faces a mixture of uncertainty and forced smiles. As Ashley walked down the aisle, her beauty radiant despite the simplicity of her dress, Johnny's heart swelled with love and pride. Yet he couldn't ignore the hushed whispers and disapproving glances from some of the attendees. The ceremony was brief but meaningful. When the pastor asked if anyone objected to the union, a tense silence fell over the room. Johnny and Ashley exchanged worried glances, both acutely aware of the judgment hanging in the air. As they exchanged vows, Ashley's voice trembled slightly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Johnny squeezed her hands reassuringly, his gaze never leaving hers. In that moment, it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. After the ceremony, the newlyweds retreated to a quiet corner of the reception hall. The small gathering of guests mingled awkwardly, the usual joy of a wedding celebration noticeably absent. Johnny took Ashley's hands in his voice low and filled with emotion. "I'm sorry it had to be like this," he said, nodding towards the sparse crowd. Ashley's lips quivered as she fought back tears. "I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't expect it to hurt this much," she whispered. Johnny pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. "We have each other," he murmured into her hair. "That's all that matters." As they held each other, the reality of their situation sank in. They were facing a future where they might not have the support of their families or the acceptance of their community. The road ahead would be challenging, but in that quiet moment they found strength in their love and commitment to each other. As the newlyweds settled into their modest home, the reality of their new life together began to unfold. Johnny threw himself into his work at the restaurant, determined to provide a stable foundation for their future. His days were long, filled with the hustle and bustle of managing staff, preparing meals, and keeping customers happy. Ashley, meanwhile, pursued her modeling dreams with unwavering determination. She spent hours poring over fashion magazines, practicing her walk, and perfecting her makeup techniques. Every morning she'd kiss Johnny goodbye and set out with hope in her heart, ready to face another day of casting calls and auditions. But as the weeks turned into months, opportunities remained frustratingly scarce. Ashley would return home, her shoulders slumped, and her eyes heavy with disappointment. "I just don't understand," she'd say, her voice quivering. "I'm trying so hard, but it feels like no one wants to give me a chance. Johnny would wrap her in his arms, his heart aching for her. "You're beautiful and talented," he'd reassure her. "Your time will come. We just have to be patient." The financial strain of Ashley's pursuit began to take its toll. The costs of professional photos, stylish outfits, and travel to nearby cities for auditions added up quickly. Johnny found himself working longer hours to make ends meet, often coming home well after Ashley had gone to bed. One evening, as they sat at their small kitchen table, the weight of their struggles hung heavy in the air. Ashley pushed her dinner around her plate, her appetite diminished by worry. "Maybe I should just give up," she said softly, her eyes downcast. "Find a regular job to help out." Johnny reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "No," he said firmly. "This is your dream. We'll figure it out together." But even as he spoke the words, Johnny felt a flicker of doubt. He loved Ashley with all his heart, but he couldn't help wondering how long they could keep this up. The disapproving whispers in town hadn't ceased, and he could feel the strain on both of them growing with each passing day. As the weeks passed, Johnny's unwavering support for Ashley became the talk of the town. His friends, once supportive of his success, now whispered behind his back. They gathered at the local diner, shaking their heads and clicking their tongues. "Did you hear? Ashley went to another casting call in the city," one of them said, stirring his coffee. "Came back empty-handed, as usual." Another chimed in, "I don't get it. Why doesn't Johnny just tell her to give it up? He's working himself to the bone for nothing." The gossip spread like wildfire, eventually reaching Johnny's ears. One afternoon, as he was prepping for the dinner rush, his longtime friend Mike approached him in the kitchen. "Johnny, buddy," Mike started, his voice hesitant. "I think you need to hear something." Johnny looked up from the vegetables he was chopping, his brow furrowed. "What's up, Mike?" Mike shifted uncomfortably. "Look, people are talking. They're saying Ashley's dragging you down with her pipe dreams. Maybe it's time to—" But Johnny cut him off, his voice firm. "Stop right there, Mike. I don't want to hear it. Ashley's dreams are important to me, and I won't have anyone speaking badly about her." Mike held up his hands in surrender and backed away, leaving Johnny alone with his thoughts. That night, as Johnny drove home, the weight of the town's judgment pressed heavily on his shoulders. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles turning white. Part of him wanted to scream, to tell everyone to mind their own business. But another part, a tiny voice he tried to silence, wondered if they might be right. As he pulled into the driveway, Johnny took a deep breath. He pushed those doubts aside, reminding himself of Ashley's determination and the love they shared. Walking into their home, he found Ashley curled up on the couch, flipping through a modeling magazine. "Hey, beautiful," he said, forcing a smile. "How was your day?" Ashley looked up, her eyes bright with hope. "I think I might have a lead on a small local shoot," she said excitedly. Johnny's heart swelled with pride and love. In that moment, he knew that no amount of gossip or judgment could shake his support for her. He sat down beside her, pulling her close. "That's fantastic, honey," he said, meaning every word. "I believe in you, no matter what anyone else says." Ashley stood outside the audition room, her hands trembling as she clutched her portfolio. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. This was her chance, she thought. This time, it had to work out. But as she stepped out of the building an hour later, her shoulders slumped in defeat. The rejection stung, each word from the casting director echoing in her mind. "Not quite what we're looking for," they had said, their smile polite but dismissive. Ashley walked to her car, fighting back tears. She slid into the driver's seat and let out a shaky breath. The familiar doubts crept in, whispering that maybe she wasn't cut out for this. Maybe everyone in town was right. When she got home, Johnny was waiting for her. One look at her face told him everything he needed to know. "Oh, honey," he said softly, opening his arms. Ashley fell into his embrace, finally letting the tears flow. "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Johnny," she sobbed. "Maybe I'm just not good enough." Johnny held her close, his heart aching for her pain. He gently guided her to the couch, sitting down with her. "Ashley, look at me," he said, his voice gentle but firm. When she met his eyes, he continued, "You are beautiful, talented, and so incredibly strong. This rejection doesn't define you." Ashley wiped her eyes, sniffling. "But what if it never happens? What if I'm just chasing a stupid dream?" Johnny took her hands in his, squeezing them reassuringly. "It's not stupid to have dreams, Ashley. Your determination is one of the things I love most about you. Remember why you started this journey?" Ashley nodded slowly, thinking back to the little girl who used to practice her runway walk in front of the mirror. "That passion is still in you," Johnny said. "I see it every day. These setbacks are tough, but they're making you stronger. One day, all this hard work will pay off." His words washed over Ashley, soothing her doubts. She leaned into him, drawing strength from his unwavering support. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Johnny kissed her forehead softly. "You'd still be amazing, but I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together, remember?" Ashley managed a small smile, feeling a flicker of hope reignite within her. With Johnny by her side, she found the courage to keep believing in herself and her dreams. As the days passed, Johnny and Ashley's bond grew stronger, forged in the fires of adversity. They found solace in each other, a refuge from the whispers and stares that followed them around town. One evening, as they sat on their porch swing, Ashley spotted a flyer for an upcoming local beauty pageant. Her heart raced with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Johnny, look," she said, pointing to the flyer. "Maybe this could be my chance." Johnny squeezed her hand. "You should go for it, Ashley. I believe in you." Ashley bit her lip, doubt creeping in. "But what if I fail again? The whole town will be watching." Johnny turned to face her, his eyes filled with determination. "Then we'll face it together. Remember, their opinions don't define you. You're beautiful, inside and out." Encouraged by Johnny's words, Ashley decided to enter the pageant. She threw herself into preparation, practicing her walk and refining her talent routine late into the night. Johnny was always there, offering words of encouragement and bringing her cups of tea when she pushed herself too hard. As the day of the pageant approached, Ashley's nerves intensified. The night before, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep. "What if I'm not good enough?" she whispered in the darkness. Johnny rolled over, wrapping an arm around her. "You are more than good enough. You're going to shine tomorrow." The morning of the pageant arrived, and Ashley stood backstage, her heart pounding. She could hear the murmurs of the audience, knowing many had come to see her fail. But as she peeked out from behind the curtain, she saw Johnny in the front row, beaming with pride. Taking a deep breath, Ashley stepped onto the stage. The bright lights blinded her for a moment, but she found Johnny's face in the crowd. His encouraging smile gave her strength, and she began her routine with newfound confidence. As Ashley gracefully moved across the stage, her confidence grew with each step. The audience, once skeptical, now watched in awe. Her talent performance, a heartfelt spoken-word piece about perseverance, left many in tears. Johnny beamed with pride, his eyes never leaving his wife. When the results were announced, Ashley held her breath. "And the winner is Ashley Jones." The crowd erupted in applause, and for a moment, Ashley couldn't believe her ears. She had won. After years of rejection and doubt, she had finally achieved a victory, no matter how small. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she accepted the crown and sash. She locked eyes with Johnny in the audience, his face a mixture of joy and pride. In that moment, all the hardships they had faced together seemed worth it. As Ashley made her way off the stage, still in a daze from her win, a well-dressed woman approached her. "Excuse me, Ashley. I'm Sarah Miller, a talent scout from New York. I was incredibly impressed by your performance today." Ashley's heart skipped a beat. "Thank you, Ms. Miller. That means a lot to me." Sarah smiled warmly. "I'd love to discuss the possibility of working with you. Your look is fresh and your stage presence is captivating. Here's my card. Let's set up a meeting to talk about your future in modeling." Ashley clutched the business card, her hands trembling slightly. She couldn't believe what was happening. After years of closed doors and rejections, a window of opportunity had finally opened. As the crowd dispersed, Johnny rushed to Ashley's side, enveloping her in a tight embrace. "You did it, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." Ashley buried her face in Johnny's shoulder, overwhelmed with emotion. "Johnny, you won't believe what just happened," she whispered, her voice filled with excitement and disbelief. After a due days, Ashley and Johnny sat across from Sarah Miller in a small cafe, their hearts racing with anticipation. Sarah smiled warmly as she slid a folder across the table. "I have some exciting news for you, Ashley," Sarah began. "There's a local clothing boutique looking for fresh faces for their new ad campaign. It's not a big-name brand, but it's a start." Ashley's eyes widened as she opened the folder, her fingers tracing over the details of the offer. It wasn't the glamorous high-fashion shoot she had always dreamed of, but it was real. It was a chance. "The shoot is for their summer collection," Sarah continued. "It's mostly casual wear, sundresses, that sort of thing. They're looking for models who can showcase their clothes for everyday women." Johnny squeezed Ashley's hand under the table, his eyes shining with pride. "That sounds perfect for you, honey," he said softly. Ashley nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "It does, doesn't it?" Sarah leaned forward, her tone encouraging. "This could be a great stepping stone, Ashley. It's local, so people in town will see it. It could lead to more opportunities." As the reality of the offer sank in, Ashley felt a mixture of excitement and nerves bubbling up inside her. This was what she had been working towards for so long. It wasn't the cover of Vogue, but it was a real modeling job. "I'll do it," Ashley said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "I'd be honored to be part of this campaign." Johnny wrapped his arm around Ashley's shoulders, pulling her close. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. This is just the beginning." As they left the cafe, Ashley clutched the folder to her chest, her steps lighter than they had been in years. Johnny couldn't stop smiling, his heart swelling with joy for his wife. "You know what this means, don't you?" Johnny said as they walked to their car. "All those years of hard work, all those rejections, they were leading to this moment. You never gave up, and now it's finally paying off." Ashley leaned into Johnny, grateful for his unwavering support. "We never gave up," she corrected him. "I couldn't have done this without you." As Ashley's modeling career began to gain traction, she found herself juggling more opportunities than ever before. Her local ad campaign had been well received, and she was starting to get recognized around town. It was a small step, but it felt like a giant leap for Ashley. One sunny afternoon, Ashley's phone buzzed with an incoming call from her new agent, Sarah. Her heart raced as she answered. "Ashley, I've got great news." Sarah's voice was brimming with excitement. "Remember that swimwear company I told you about? They want you for their summer catalog shoot." Ashley's eyes widened, her free hand covering her mouth in disbelief. "Really? Oh my goodness, that's amazing." As Sarah rattled off the details, Ashley's elation slowly morphed into concern. The shoot was scheduled for the same weekend as Johnny's annual barbecue, an event his friends had been looking forward to for months. Later that evening, Ashley shared the news with Johnny over dinner. His face lit up with pride, but then faltered as she mentioned the date conflict. "Oh," he said, his fork pausing midway to his mouth. "That's the same day as the barbecue." Ashley nodded, her eyes downcast. "I know. I'm so sorry, Johnny. I can try to reschedule." Johnny reached across the table, taking her hand. "No, sweetheart. This is a big opportunity for you. We'll figure something out." The next day, as Johnny was preparing for the dinner rush at his restaurant, his friends Mike and Tom stopped by. They were regulars, always ready with a joke or a bit of town gossip. "So, Johnny," Mike said, leaning against the counter, "we heard Ashley might not make it to the barbecue. Another big modeling gig, huh?" Johnny nodded, a small smile on his face. "Yeah, she's got a shoot for a swimwear catalog. It's a great opportunity for her." Tom chuckled, shaking his head. "A swimsuit shoot? Well, I guess she better enjoy it while it lasts. You know how fickle the fashion world can be." Mike joined in, his tone mockingly sympathetic. Yeah, today it's swimsuits. Tomorrow it's back to flipping burgers. No offense, Johnny. Johnny felt his jaw clench, a wave of anger rising in his chest. He took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady. Ashley's worked hard for this. She's not going anywhere but up. The tension in the air was palpable as Johnny's friends exchanged glances. They could see they'd struck a nerve, but neither seemed willing to back down. Ashley's phone rang one sunny afternoon and her heart skipped a beat when she saw it was her agent, Sarah. With trembling hands, she answered the call. "Ashley, great news!" Sarah's voice bubbled with excitement. "You've been selected to walk in the Oakville Regional Fashion Show next month." Ashley's eyes widened and she let out a squeal of delight. "Oh my gosh, Sarah, are you serious?" "Absolutely, this is a big deal, Ashley. It could really boost your career." After hanging up, Ashley rushed to Johnny's restaurant, bursting through the doors with a radiant smile. Johnny looked up from behind the counter, his eyebrows raised in surprise. "Johnny," Ashley called out, practically bouncing with joy. "I got into the Oakville show." Johnny's face lit up and he hurried around the counter to embrace her. "That's incredible, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." As they hugged tightly, a few customers in the diner whispered and stared. Mrs. Thompson, a regular, leaned over to her friend and muttered, "Well, I'll be. Looks like our little town celebrity is moving up in the world." Her friend snickered. "We'll see how long that lasts. These fashion folks are fickle, you know." Despite the murmurs, Johnny and Ashley remained lost in their celebration, their happiness a bubble that couldn't be popped by gossip. Later that evening, as they walked hand in hand through the town square, they overheard more whispers and saw pointed looks. Johnny felt Ashley's hand tighten in his. "Don't let them get to you," he said softly, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. "They don't understand how hard you've worked for this." Ashley took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right. We can't let their negativity bring us down. This is a huge opportunity, and I'm going to make the most of it." Johnny smiled, his eyes full of love and pride. "That's my girl. We're in this together, remember? Let's focus on your big break and leave all this small-town talk behind us." As they continued their walk, Ashley felt a weight lift from her shoulders. With Johnny by her side, she knew she could face anything, even the scrutiny of their gossiping neighbors. Her dreams were finally taking shape, and she was determined to see them through, no matter what anyone else thought. The day of the Oakville Regional Fashion Show arrived, and Ashley's nerves were on edge. As she stood backstage, surrounded by the buzz of stylists and other models, she took a deep breath and closed her eyes. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, channeling Johnny's unwavering support. When it was her turn to walk the runway, Ashley stepped out with grace and confidence. The bright lights illuminated her radiant smile, and her walk was both elegant and captivating. As she reached the end of the catwalk, she struck a pose that showcased not only her outfit, but also her inner strength and determination. The audience was mesmerized. In the front row, Johnny beamed with pride, his eyes never leaving his wife. Beside him, several industry professionals leaned forward in their seats, clearly impressed by Ashley's presence. As Ashley made her final walk, the applause grew louder. She caught sight of a well-known fashion designer nodding approvingly, and her heart soared. After the show, Ashley was approached by multiple agents and designers. They showered her with compliments and exchanged contact information, promising to be in touch soon. "You were absolutely stunning out there," one agent gushed. "I haven't seen such natural talent in years." Johnny made his way through the crowd, wrapping Ashley in a tight embrace when he reached her. "You were amazing, sweetheart," he whispered in her ear. "I always knew you had it in you." Over the next few weeks, Ashley's phone buzzed constantly with new opportunities. She was invited to photo shoots, asked to walk in smaller shows, and even offered a chance to be the face of a local boutique's summer campaign. For the first time in years, Ashley felt a surge of hope. Her dreams, once seemingly out of reach, were now within grasp. She threw herself into each opportunity with enthusiasm and dedication, determined to make the most of this turning point in her career. Johnny's faith in Ashley grew even stronger as he watched her flourish. He rearranged his schedule at the restaurant to accompany her to shoots when he could, always there to offer support and encouragement. Ashley's phone rang one sunny afternoon as she was helping Johnny in the restaurant. Her heart raced when she saw the caller ID. It was the agent she'd met at the fashion show. With trembling hands, she answered. "Hello?" "Ashley, darling, I have fantastic news," the agent exclaimed. "Remember that high-end fashion brand I mentioned? Well, they want you for their new campaign." Ashley's eyes widened and she gripped the phone tighter. "Are you serious?" she gasped. "Absolutely. It's a major contract, Ashley. This could be your big break." Tears welled up in Ashley's eyes as she listened to the details. When she hung up, she turned to Johnny, who had been watching her with concern. "Johnny," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "I got it. I got a major contract with a high-end fashion brand." Johnny's face lit up with joy. He rushed over and scooped Ashley into his arms, spinning her around. "I knew you could do it," he exclaimed, planting a kiss on her lips. News of Ashley's contract spread quickly through their small town. The same people who had once scoffed at her dreams now watched in disbelief as billboards featuring her face appeared on the outskirts of town. At the local grocery store, Mrs. Thompson, who had been one of the most vocal critics, couldn't help but stare at the magazine cover featuring Ashley's radiant smile. "I can't believe it," she muttered to her friend. "Who would have thought Ashley Jones would make it big?" Her friend nodded, a hint of envy in her voice. And to think, we all laughed at Johnny for believing in her. As Ashley's career soared, the town's attitude shifted. People who had once turned their backs on the couple now approached them with forced smiles and congratulations. One evening, as Johnny and Ashley enjoyed a quiet dinner at home, their doorbell rang. It was Mr. Peterson, one of Johnny's old friends who had mocked Ashley's ambitions. "I just wanted to say congratulations," he stammered, avoiding eye contact. "You've really made it, Ashley. We're all proud of you." Ashley and Johnny exchanged a knowing glance. They thanked Mr. Peterson politely, but as they closed the door, they couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. Ashley's excitement was palpable as she held the golden invitation in her hands. "Johnny, can you believe it? We're going to New York City for Fashion Week." Her eyes sparkled with joy as she looked at her husband. Johnny smiled, but Ashley noticed a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "That's amazing, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you," he said, his voice a mix of happiness and apprehension. As Ashley began packing for their trip, she couldn't help but notice Johnny's nervous pacing. She paused, setting down the dress she was holding, and turned to face him. "What's wrong, honey?" she asked gently. Johnny sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's just New York City, Ashley. It's so different from our little town. I'm worried I won't fit in with all those fancy fashion people." Ashley's heart swelled with love for her husband. She walked over to him and took his hands in hers. "Oh, Johnny," she said softly. "You don't have to worry about fitting in. You're the reason I'm here in the first place. Without your love and support, I never would have made it this far." She led him to sit on the edge of their bed, her eyes never leaving his. "Remember when nobody in this town believed in me? You were the only one who stood by my side. You're my rock, Johnny. We're in this together, just like we've always been." Johnny's tension visibly eased as he listened to Ashley's words. He squeezed her hands, a small smile forming on his lips. "You're right," he said. "I'm just being silly. Of course, we're in this together." Ashley leaned in and kissed him softly. "Besides," she added with a playful grin, "you're the most handsome man I know. You'll outshine everyone there, Mr. Small-Town Restaurant Owner." Johnny chuckled, his confidence returning. "Well, when you put it that way, how can I argue?" He pulled Ashley into a warm embrace, feeling grateful for her understanding and support. As they held each other, Ashley whispered, "We've come so far together, Johnny. This is just another adventure for us, and I wouldn't want to share it with anyone else but you." As Johnny and Ashley stepped out of their taxi onto the bustling streets of New York City, they were immediately engulfed by a sea of flashing lights. Paparazzi swarmed around them, their cameras clicking frantically. "Ashley, Ashley, over here!" the photographers shouted, jostling for position. Ashley, radiant in a stunning emerald gown, instinctively reached for Johnny's hand. She could feel him tense beside her, his eyes wide with surprise at the unexpected attention. "It's okay," she whispered, giving his hand a reassuring squeeze. "Just smile and keep walking." Johnny nodded, forcing a smile onto his face. He felt out of place in his rented tuxedo, painfully aware of how different this world was from their small town. But as he looked at Ashley, glowing with confidence and beauty, he knew he'd endure anything to support her dreams. They made their way down the red carpet, Ashley gracefully posing for photos while Johnny stood by her side, trying his best to appear comfortable. He marveled at how naturally she handled the attention, answering questions and smiling for the cameras like she'd been doing it all her life. Inside the venue, the couple was immediately approached by fashion designers, models, and industry executives, all eager to meet Ashley. Johnny found himself fading into the background as people clamored to speak with his wife. "You must be so proud," a well-dressed woman said to Johnny, noticing his slightly lost expression. "I am," Johnny replied, his eyes never leaving Ashley. "More than I can say." As the night wore on, Johnny's discomfort grew. He didn't understand the fashion jargon being thrown around, and he felt like a fish out of water among the glittering crowd. But every time Ashley looked his way, her face lit up with a smile that reminded him why he was there. During a quiet moment, Ashley made her way back to Johnny's side. "How are you holding up?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. Johnny took a deep breath. "It's different," he admitted. "But seeing you shine like this, it's worth every uncomfortable moment." As Johnny and Ashley returned to their small hometown, the atmosphere had noticeably shifted. The once judgmental whispers had transformed into excited chatter, and eyes that used to avert now stared in awe. Ashley's face was plastered across billboards and magazine covers, impossible to ignore even in their quiet corner of the world. Johnny's phone, which had been silent for months, suddenly buzzed with messages from old friends and distant relatives. "Hey buddy, long time no see," read one text from his childhood friend Mike. "We should catch up sometime." Johnny showed the message to Ashley, raising an eyebrow. "Funny how they all want to talk now," he said, a hint of bitterness in his voice. Ashley placed a gentle hand on his arm. "It's okay to be upset, Johnny, but remember, we're better than that. We won't let this change us." As they walked down Main Street, heads turned and whispers followed. Mrs. Thompson, who once loudly proclaimed that Ashley would never make it, now waved enthusiastically from her porch. "Ashley, dear, you look absolutely radiant." Johnny's Aunt Clara, who had refused to attend their wedding, suddenly appeared at their doorstep with a homemade pie. "I was just in the neighborhood," she said, her eyes darting to Ashley's designer handbag. Through it all, Johnny and Ashley remained steadfast in their values. They still ate at the same diner where they had their first date, tipped generously, and greeted everyone with genuine smiles. One evening, as they sat on their porch swing, Ashley turned to Johnny. "You know, all this attention, it doesn't mean anything compared to what we have." Johnny nodded, pulling her close. "I'm so proud of you, Ash, not because you're famous, but because you never gave up on your dreams. You're still the same beautiful, determined woman I fell in love with." Ashley's eyes welled up with tears. "And you're still the same kind, supportive man who believed in me when no one else did. Fame or no fame, that's what matters most." As the sun set over their little town, Johnny and Ashley sat in comfortable silence, grateful for each other and the journey that had brought them here. They knew that no matter what changes came their way, their love and their values would remain unshakable. Ashley's face graced the covers of Vogue, Ella, and Harper's Bazaar. Her graceful stride dominated runways in Paris, Milan, and New York. The small-town girl had become an international modeling sensation, her name whispered with reverence in fashion circles worldwide. Back in their hometown, Johnny and Ashley's success was impossible to ignore. The couple walked down Main Street, hand in hand, their presence causing a stir. People who once scoffed at Ashley's dreams now watched in awe, their jaws dropping as the pair passed by. "Is that really Ashley Jones?" Mrs. Peterson whispered to her friend. "I can't believe she made it so big." Johnny's restaurant had become a local hotspot, not just for the delicious food, but for the chance to catch a glimpse of the famous couple. Despite their newfound fame and fortune, Johnny and Ashley remained true to their roots. They still volunteered at the local soup kitchen every Sunday, just as they had when times were tough. Ashley used her platform to promote body positivity and racial inclusivity in the fashion industry, never forgetting the struggles she faced on her journey. One day, as they shared a quiet moment in the park where they used to dream about their future, Ashley turned to Johnny. "Can you believe how far we've come?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with joy and gratitude. Johnny squeezed her hand, his voice thick with emotion. "I always knew you could do it, Ash. Your determination was unstoppable." As they walked home, they passed by the beauty salon where Mrs. Thompson, one of their harshest critics, worked. The older woman rushed out, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Ashley, Johnny," she stammered, I just wanted to say I was wrong about you both. What you've achieved is truly remarkable." Ashley smiled warmly, showing no hint of resentment. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That means a lot to us." Later that evening, as they prepared for a charity gala in town, Johnny watched Ashley get ready, marveling at how she remained the same kind-hearted woman he fell in love with, despite her global fame. "You know," he said, adjusting his tie, "I'm proudest of how we've stayed true to ourselves through all of this." Ashley nodded, her eyes meeting his in the mirror. "That's because we have each other. Fame changes a lot of things, but it hasn't changed us." Johnny and Ashley stood hand in hand on the steps of the town hall, their faces beaming with excitement. A large crowd had gathered, buzzing with curiosity about the couple's big announcement. The same people who had once gossiped and doubted them now looked on with admiration and a touch of shame. "We're thrilled to announce," Johnny began, his voice steady and warm, "that we'll be making a substantial donation to the Millbrook Community Foundation." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Ashley stepped forward, her eyes shining with emotion. "This town has been our home through thick and thin," she said. "We want to give back and help those who might be struggling, just like we once did." The donation, a staggering sum of $500,000, would fund various projects aimed at improving the lives of those in need. From upgrading the local shelter to establishing a scholarship fund for aspiring artists and entrepreneurs, Johnny and Ashley's gift would touch countless lives. Mayor Thompson, who had once been one of their harshest critics, approached the microphone with tears in his eyes. "On behalf of Millbrook, I want to express our deepest gratitude," he said, his voice cracking. "Your generosity will change lives for generations to come." As the crowd erupted in applause, Johnny and Ashley shared a tender look. They remembered the days when they could barely afford rent, when Ashley's modeling dreams seemed impossibly far away. Now they had the power to lift others up, to offer hope where there was once only struggle. After the ceremony, as they walked through the park, an elderly woman approached them. Her eyes were red from crying, but she wore a grateful smile. "You don't know me," she said, her voice trembling, "but your donation means my granddaughter can go to art school. She's talented, but we could never afford it. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart." Johnny and Ashley hugged the woman, their own eyes misting over. This was why they had made the donation, to change lives, to offer chances they had once only dreamed of. As Ashley sat in their cozy living room, her eyes wandered over the framed magazine covers adorning the walls. Each one told a story of triumph over adversity, of dreams realized against all odds. Her heart swelled with gratitude as she thought of Johnny, her rock through it all. "Johnny," she called softly, her voice filled with emotion. "I've been thinking about something." Johnny looked up from his newspaper, his eyes warm and attentive. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" Ashley took a deep breath. "I want to give back in a different way. I want to open a school right here in Millbrook for aspiring models." Johnny's face lit up with pride. "That's a wonderful idea, Ashley. You've got so much to share." Ashley's eyes sparkled as she shared her vision. "I remember how hard it was when I started out. The rejection, the uncertainty, not knowing how to navigate the industry. I want to help others avoid those pitfalls." She stood up and paced the room, her excitement growing. "We could teach them about proper nutrition, how to walk the runway, how to handle interviews, and most importantly, how to stay true to themselves in such a tough business. Johnny nodded, his smile widening. You could even bring in some of your industry contacts as guest speakers. Give the students a real insider's view. Ashley clapped her hands together. Oh, Johnny, that's perfect. And we could offer scholarships to those who can't afford tuition. Give everyone a fair shot, just like we wished for back then. As they discussed the details, Ashley's mind raced with possibilities. She imagined a beautiful building filled with eager students, their eyes shining with the same hope she once had. She saw herself standing before them, sharing not just the glamour of the industry, but the hard work and perseverance it required. We'll call it the Ashley Jones School of Modeling, Johnny suggested, his voice full of pride. Ashley shook her head, her eyes misting over. No, it should be the Jones School of Modeling, because I couldn't have done any of this without you, Johnny. Your support made all the difference. Johnny pulled her into a tight embrace, overcome with emotion. As they held each other, Ashley knew that this school would be their legacy, a testament to the power of love, determination, and giving back to the community that had once doubted them. The grand opening of the Jones School of Modeling was a day of celebration for the entire town of Millbrook. The sun shone brightly as Ashley and Johnny cut the ribbon in front of the newly renovated building, its sleek facade a stark contrast to the quaint storefronts surrounding it. Crowds gathered to witness the momentous occasion, their faces a mix of awe and admiration. Many of the same people who had once doubted Ashley now cheered loudly, pride swelling in their chests at the hometown girl who had made it big and come back to share her success. Ashley, radiant in a stunning designer dress, addressed the crowd with tears in her eyes. This school is a dream come true, she said, her voice filled with emotion. Not just for me, but for every young person who has ever dared to dream big. Here, we'll nurture those dreams and give them wings. As the doors opened, eager students flooded in, their eyes wide with excitement. Young women from all walks of life, some from Millbrook and others from neighboring towns, had enrolled in the school's first class. They whispered and pointed as Ashley led them through the state-of-the-art facilities, from the runway practice room to the photography studio. In the weeks that followed, the school buzzed with activity. Ashley threw herself into teaching, sharing not just the technical aspects of modeling, but also the life lessons she'd learned along the way. Her students hung on her every word, inspired by her journey from small-town girl to international supermodel. The impact of the school rippled through the community. Young women walked with newfound confidence, their postures straighter, their smiles brighter. Parents who had once discouraged their daughters' modeling aspirations now spoke with pride about the skills they were learning at the Jones School of Modeling. Ashley became more than just a successful model to the people of Millbrook. She became a symbol of hope and perseverance. Her story of overcoming adversity and achieving her dreams despite the odds inspired not just her students but the entire town. Johnny's restaurant, once a small local favorite, had blossomed into a thriving chain with multiple locations across the state. The original Millbrook spot still held a special place in his heart, its walls now adorned with photos of his journey with Ashley and newspaper clippings of their success. On a busy Saturday evening, Johnny moved through the kitchen of his flagship restaurant, tasting sauces and offering words of encouragement to his staff. The aroma of his famous pot roast filled the air, reminding him of the day Ashley first walked into his life. "Mr. Johnny," called out one of the young chefs, "the new recipe is ready for you to try." Johnny smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He'd come a long way from being the only cook in a tiny kitchen. Now he had a team of talented chefs working alongside him, bringing fresh ideas to the table. As he sampled the dish, his phone buzzed with a message from Ashley. She was on her way back from a photo shoot and wanted to meet him at the restaurant. Johnny's heart swelled with pride and love. Despite their busy schedules, they always made time for each other. Later that evening, as Ashley walked into the restaurant, heads turned. She was as beautiful as ever, but it was her warm smile and kind demeanor that truly captivated people. She greeted the staff by name, asking about their families and aspirations. Johnny emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. He embraced Ashley, planting a soft kiss on her cheek. "How was your day, sweetheart?" he asked. Wonderful, Ashley beamed, but I'm even happier to be here with you. As they sat down to enjoy a quiet dinner together, customers and staff alike couldn't help but steal glances at the couple. Johnny and Ashley represented more than just success. They embodied love, perseverance, and the power of believing in one's dreams. As Johnny and Ashley enjoyed their quiet dinner, a group of familiar faces entered the restaurant. Johnny's heart skipped a beat as he recognized his former friends, the same ones who had mocked him for marrying Ashley years ago. They approached the table hesitantly, their eyes downcast and shoulders slumped. "Johnny, Ashley," one of them, Tom, spoke up. We hope we're not interrupting." Johnny looked at Ashley, who gave him a gentle nod. He turned back to the group and gestured for them to join them. "What can we do for you?" he asked, his voice calm but guarded. The group exchanged nervous glances before Nina, another former friend, cleared her throat. "We came to apologize," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We were wrong, Johnny, so terribly wrong." Tom nodded in agreement. "The way we treated you both, it was inexcusable. We let our small-town prejudices cloud our judgment, and we missed out on supporting two incredible people." Johnny listened silently, his expression unreadably. Ashley reached across the table and squeezed his hand, offering silent support. "We've watched you both grow and achieve so much," another friend, Mike, added. "The way you've given back to the community, the opportunities you've created, it's truly admirable." Nina's eyes welled up with tears. "We don't expect forgiveness, but we needed you to know how sorry we are. What you and Ashley have built together is beautiful, and we were fools not to see it from the beginning." Johnny took a deep breath, feeling the weight of years of hurt and resentment lifting from his shoulders. He looked at Ashley, drawing strength from her loving gaze, then turned back to his former friends. "Thank you for your apology," he said softly. "It means a lot to hear this from you." The group seemed to collectively hold their breath, waiting for Johnny's next words. With a small smile, Johnny continued, "Life's too short to hold on to grudges. We've all grown and changed over the years. I forgive you." The relief on their faces was palpable. Tears flowed freely as they expressed their gratitude for Johnny's grace and maturity. Ashley smiled proudly at her husband, knowing that his capacity for forgiveness was just one of the many reasons she loved him so deeply. Ashley stood before the first group of students at her modeling school, her heart swelling with pride and excitement. The classroom was filled with young women from diverse backgrounds, many of whom reminded Ashley of herself when she was starting out. "Welcome, everyone," Ashley began, her voice warm and encouraging. "I know many of you are nervous, but I want you to know that you're in a safe space here. We're all here to learn and grow together." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each student. Some looked eager, others apprehensive, but all were attentive. "I started just like you," Ashley continued, her voice filled with emotion. "I came from a small town where nobody believed in my dreams. I faced rejection after rejection, but I never gave up." A young woman in the front row, Tanya, raised her hand timidly. "Miss Ashley, how did you keep going when everyone told you to quit?" Ashley smiled softly, remembering her own struggles. "It wasn't easy, Tanya. There were days when I wanted to give up, but I had a dream, and I had people who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." She walked around the room, making eye contact with each student. "That's what I want to be for all of you. I want to be the person who believes in you, who pushes you to be your best self." Another student, Maria, spoke up. "But what if we're not pretty enough? What if we don't fit the mold?" Ashley's expression turned serious. "Listen to me, all of you. Beauty comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. The modeling industry is changing, and we're going to be part of that change. Your uniqueness is your strength." As the class progressed, Ashley shared her experiences, offering practical advice on posing, walking, and presenting oneself. But more than that, she focused on building the students' confidence and self-esteem. "Remember," Ashley said as the class neared its end, "modeling isn't just about looking pretty. It's about confidence, perseverance, and believing in yourself. Each one of you has something special to offer the world." My job is to help you find it and showcase it." The students hung on her every word, their eyes shining with newfound hope and determination. Ashley saw herself in each of their faces, the same dreams, the same fears, but now with a guiding light to show them the way. Johnny and Ashley stood hand in hand at the entrance of the grand ballroom, their hearts pounding with excitement and a touch of nervousness. The annual Starlight Gala, the biggest philanthropic event in the region, was in full swing. Soft music filled the air as elegantly dressed guests mingled, their jewelry glinting under the crystal chandeliers. As they stepped into the room, heads turned and whispers of admiration rippled through the crowd. Ashley looked stunning in a flowing emerald gown, while Johnny cut a dashing figure in his tailored tuxedo. They were a far cry from the small-town couple who had once faced ridicule and doubt. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed over the speakers, "please welcome our guests of honor, Johnny and Ashley." The room erupted in applause. Ashley squeezed Johnny's hand, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. Johnny beamed with pride, thinking back to all the obstacles they had overcome to reach this moment. As they made their way through the crowd, well-wishers stopped them at every turn. Local business owners, politicians, and even some familiar faces from their hometown congratulated them on their success. "We're so proud of what you've done for our community," said Mayor Thompson, shaking Johnny's hand vigorously. "Your restaurant chain has created so many jobs, and Ashley, your modeling school is inspiring a whole new generation." Ashley smiled graciously. "We're just happy to give back to the community that shaped us," she replied, her voice filled with sincerity. The couple was ushered to the stage where they were presented with a beautiful crystal award. The inscription read, "For outstanding contributions to community development and youth empowerment." As Johnny accepted the award, he looked out at the sea of faces. He saw admiration where there was once doubt, respect where there was once derision. But most importantly, he saw hope in the eyes of young people who now believed that their dreams too could come true. "Thank you all," Johnny began, his voice thick with emotion. "This award means the world to us, but the real reward is seeing the impact we've been able to make. Ashley and I know what it's like to face adversity and doubt. We want to ensure that no one else has to face those challenges alone." As the applause died down and the couple stepped off the stage, they found a quiet corner of the ballroom to catch their breath. Johnny and Ashley stood close together, their hands intertwined as they gazed out at the glittering crowd. "Can you believe it, Johnny?" Ashley whispered, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Look at where we are now. It's like a dream." Johnny squeezed her hand gently, his heart swelling with love and pride. "We've come so far, haven't we?" Ashley nodded, her mind drifting back to the early days of their marriage. She remembered the tiny apartment they'd shared, the constant struggle to make ends meet while she pursued her modeling dreams. The memory of disapproving glances and whispered judgments from their neighbors still stung, even after all these years. "Do you remember how hard it was in the beginning?" she asked softly. "No one believed in us. They all thought we were crazy for getting married, for me chasing my dreams." Johnny's expression softened as he looked into his wife's eyes. "I remember, sweetheart. But you know what? Their doubt never mattered to me. Our love was always enough." Ashley leaned into him, drawing strength from his unwavering support. "There were so many times I wanted to give up," she confessed, "but you never let me. You believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself." "And look at you now," Johnny said with a proud smile. "A successful model, a mentor to young women, and the most amazing wife I could have ever hoped for." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, both lost in memories of their journey. The hardships they'd faced, the tears they'd shed, and the triumphs they'd celebrated together all seemed to blend into a beautiful tapestry of their life. "We proved them all wrong, didn't we?" Ashley said with a soft laugh. Johnny grinned and pulled her close. "We sure did. But you know what? Even if we hadn't, even if you'd never booked a single modeling job, I'd still be the luckiest man alive. Because I have you." Ashley's heart swelled with emotion. "And I have you," she whispered. "That's all I've ever needed." As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over their hometown, Johnny and Ashley decided to take a leisurely stroll through the familiar streets. Hand in hand, they walked along the sidewalks where they had once faced judgment and scorn. The air was filled with a sense of peace and contentment. As they passed by the local diner, Mrs. Thompson, who had once been one of their harshest critics, waved at them with a genuine smile. Johnny and Ashley returned the greeting, their hearts full of forgiveness and understanding. "It's funny how things change," Johnny mused, squeezing Ashley's hand gently. Ashley nodded, her eyes taking in the town that had shaped their journey. Who would have thought we'd become the talk of the town in such a different way? As they continued their walk, they noticed a group of young girls huddled together, excitedly discussing Ashley's latest magazine cover. When they spotted the couple, their eyes widened with admiration. "Mrs. Jones," one of the girls called out, "you're such an inspiration to us." Ashley's heart swelled with emotion. She remembered all too well the days when she had been just like these girls, dreaming of a future that seemed impossible. "Thank you, sweethearts," she said warmly. "Never stop believing in yourselves." Johnny watched the exchange with pride, marveling at how his wife had become a beacon of hope for so many. As they moved on, they passed by Johnny's first restaurant, now one of many in his successful chain. "Remember when this place was just a tiny hole in the wall?" Johnny chuckled. Ashley leaned her head on his shoulder. "And now look at you, Mr. Successful Businessman." And their walk took them to the park where they had shared their first kiss. The old bench was still there, a silent witness to their enduring love story. They sat down, taking in the peaceful evening. "We've come so far," Ashley said softly, her voice filled with gratitude. Johnny nodded, wrapping his arm around her. "Our love and resilience got us through it all." As they sat there, basking in the warmth of their shared memories and accomplishments, they realized that their journey had not only transformed their own lives, but had also left an indelible mark on their community. The town that had once judged them now looked to them as living proof that with love, determination, and unwavering support, anything was possible. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Johnny and Ashley sat on their favorite park bench, fingers intertwined. The gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers, a sweet reminder of how their love had blossomed against all odds. "You know," Johnny said softly, his eyes twinkling with emotion, "sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come." Ashley leaned her head on his shoulder, a contented sigh escaping her lips. "Me neither. But we did it together, didn't we?" They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, reflecting on their journey. From the early days of doubt and struggle to the dizzying heights of success, their love had remained constant, a beacon guiding them through the storms of life. "I'm so grateful for you," Ashley whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You believed in me when no one else did." Johnny squeezed her hand gently. "And you gave me the courage to stand up for what I believed in. We make quite a team, don't we?" As they watched the last rays of sunlight fade, they thought about all they had accomplished. Ashley's modeling school was thriving, giving hope to young dreamers. Johnny's restaurants were beloved community fixtures. But more than their professional success, they cherished the love they had nurtured and the lives they had touched. "You know what makes me happiest?" Johnny asked, his voice soft and sincere. Ashley looked up at him, curiosity in her eyes. "What's that?" "Seeing the smile on your face when you're mentoring those young models," he replied. "It's like you're giving them the support you always wished for." Tears welled up in Ashley's eyes. "And you, my love. The way you've forgiven those who doubted us, how you've used your success to uplift others. You inspire me every day." As the first stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, Johnny and Ashley held each other close. Their journey had been filled with challenges, but their love had proven stronger than any obstacle. In that quiet moment, surrounded by the peace of their hometown and the warmth of their enduring love, they felt truly blessed. If you enjoyed the story of Johnny and Ashley, I handpicked this next story that will touch your heart. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.